Okay, so thanks for joining. Today I'm going to be walking through a little bit of a niche paradigm in terms of state management. As far as last time I worked on a UI, UX project solely. Just a little bit of state management here, replacing use effect and use reducer with atomic state management, and I'm using Jotai today. And here on my screen I have open on the right is a custom API using Django that I built. Nothing too special, just fairly rudimentary custom API that will store, return, and create top 5 lists. And a top 5 list is basically your top 5 favorite foods. You punch those in, submit, and it creates a record with all of those details in it. And on the front end, I have a small React TypeScript project using, like I said, atomic state here, and I've got an atoms file, or an atoms definitions file here where I've got all of them defined, and you can see I'm importing types here. And that's going to be important as you implement any kind of state management or using TypeScript in general. You're using, props, you're passing props into components. You're going to want to go ahead and define, parameters, interfaces, types, so that you can use your atoms in these components. I'll just show you an example here. So we're using a hook here from Jotai called useAtom. Looks a lot like something most people have used. If you've ever used React, the use state hook is really popular. But we want to use global state management here with atomic Jotai, so we're importing useAtom hook instead of, you don't see use state or use effect here or use reducer here. We're also pulling in an atom from our atoms definitions. This one here, which is of type total list, which is an array of total list. Total list is basically it is an extension of this type right here. So when it all boils down to it, this is really what we're working with, and you'll see why I extend that type and create an atom of that type to include this vote count when I show you the actual UI. So this is the component actually, and I'll go ahead and show you. What that looks like. All right, so what that component looks like, we're going to skip over the part where I'm going to hit the API and get some stuff returned here so we can look at what we're dealing with. Oops, I probably need to boot up the API first, don't I? Hold up. Sorry. Just booting up the back end here really quick. Alright, so now, okay, cool. So real quick, going back to that, you can see, just switch over the endpoints. I say we're going to skip over this. I hit an endpoint here, which I believe is this one. So there's two active on that page, but here's the one that we just used. And so you see we're using a lot. We're using, we're strongly typed here, and let's see, record, yeah, okay, so this is what we're using as our data type. And this helps us display the data that comes from the back end correctly in TypeScript. So back to the UI. Where did I get off on that tangent? Okay. So total list, right. So back to types. So we have this type list here. You can see ID, title, category, item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have title, obviously ID is hidden. We have title, and category is something else. I don't know if, yeah. So we're not listing that here, but we want to be able to search by category. So if we're doing gaming and music, so we just do gaming, search, right? So we still have that field available for us to be able to search and display pertinent data, but we're using these types here to help the front end iterate over and correctly display only the fields we want. So you see right here, we're not listing these fields out, but we are using vote count to do another thing here. So you see how they have different colors here. I have a heat, well, it's not a heat map, but it's basically like a threat level on these lists, and I have it broken down into 3 categories: high, medium, low. I will end up keeping this on the back end, but I just wanted to show this for UI's sake, how we can do you can do that on the front end. You just have to be returning the total votes, right? So see that extension there of list, using that here. In this atom, we have an atom that represents each of these, right? List, and we have an atom that holds the array of these. So that's part of the atomic approach, is these atoms are state, but they're derived from smaller pieces of state. So that's where atomic state and monolithic state kind of differ. Well, they differ a lot, so they don't kind of differ, but so hopefully that, like, it may not explain it, it may not break it down Barney style, but it at least shows you how it's implemented in the code and how you can use it to your advantage. Rendering, manipulating, kind of differentiating between data, even though you may not be storing certain statistics on the back end. If you're returning an index or some kind of key or value that you can use that to your advantage using Jotai atomic state. And hopefully that is helpful. All right, thanks. Try to include video capture next time, but no promises.